There are unfortunately some people whose reviews are still up on Steam, and that will be addressed later, that were left in bad faith. One of these criticisms that was leveled at us is that there's a hell of a lot of AI slop in Peace Island. This has to be addressed because, number one, it's 100% incorrect, and I believe we have made our opinion very clear on this. AI is a theft engine that is destroying the planet faster than we can realize. At launch, there were fewer than 25 images that had some AI content in them. And that was 0.45% out of everything in the game. Now, right now, we are guessing that there are around 5 images within the game that have AI content in them. And here's the thing. There have been images that we have found out since the release of Peace Island that were indeed had either partial or complete AI content in them. And we really appreciate, again, those people who brought those images to our attention. So there are thousands of games on Steam that use AI content. There are some that are entirely AI. Considering the fact that there are so many games on Steam that use AI content, why was Peace Island so heavily criticized? This is us admitting to a mistake on our part. Understand, prior to our release on Steam, 90% of our communication with anybody who played Peace Island was via our Patreon and via the few people that we had brought on as playtesters. We have over 1,000 people who've contributed to the game who are going to have their pictures just get an in-game name mention. A dozen of those images that we had asked the person, asked our patron whether they had a problem with us enhancing their photograph using AI, because here's the problem. A lot of people were sending in photographs of low resolution, not consistent lighting, etc., etc. And we, again, mistakenly, and I will again admit this was a mistake, we mistakenly thought that we could use AI to clean up those images as long as we had the patron's permission. Now, this was a mistake on our part for many reasons, but also because we mistakenly assumed that because we had let our patrons know, we were fine. The whole world knew. We should have mentioned that initially on our Steam page, and we subsequently have added that. Because patrons had okayed their AI portraits, and we had repeatedly admitted this limited AI use on our Patreon and Kickstarter, we thought we had been sufficiently public about this limited use. Again, we fully admit we had made a mistake. Now, as a result of this miscommunication, our authenticity was in question. And understand as this very small indie game studio, the one thing we had was our authenticity. It doesn't matter what if you see AI inside of the game, of course, that's going to throw all of that out. And yeah, because of the mistakes that we made, that happened. Now, that having been said, some of these reports of AI use in Peace Island have not been in good faith, nor accurate. This has unfortunately become a problem that is now we're going to address. Now, let's go to my Reddit post about this. At this point, to the best of our knowledge, there are 5 or fewer remaining images within Peace Island that are of AI origin out of the approximately 5,500 textures within the game. The majority of the 21 residual images that we removed were obtained via third parties in the early 2020s, and we fully admit we could have done better oversight, and we, again, apologize for that. Since the initial release of Peace Island, we've gone through 3 successive iterations of review. In the first review, 12 images were reported as being AI. Now, upon examination, only 5 out of those 12 turned out to be AI. And that's 42%, which is still significant. We're not downplaying it. Now, we fixed those 5 images. And about a week later, we went through a second review where 10 images have been submitted by players. Only 3 out of those 10 tested positive for AI. Now, the final review that we left up to the people out there, the players, was 5 images were reported, and only 1 turned out to be tested positive for having AI. Understand, we appreciate the intent of these reporters, and we agree with the goal of getting rid of anything with AI crap in it in our game. Now, However, I'm pretty sure that some people might remember when we had an initial release. One of these bad faith people came onto our Reddit and they just basically said it's all AI slop, and they came up with a number. They presented a number of images. One of them, which they swore was AI, was this photograph of the Stockholm Public Library, right here. They maintained this was AI, and when I responded, no, it is not, they said it was clearly AI because when you zoom in on the hands, they are blurry and they don't have fingers on them. Here's the problem: the long exposure taken under insufficient light. This person is obviously very young and does not know how photography works. This is a 100% legitimate image. I know from personal experience that it's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you have a superpower of identifying AI content. And trust me, most of humanity has become very good at spotting AI content. However, just because you can identify a Jesus made out of shrimp on Facebook as AI doesn't mean that you have supervision. Now, because I've fallen into that same trap, let me show you something. There was an image that I saw just a few weeks ago. This is an image of a sponsor called Mr. Sig for cigarette companies. They used to send the Mr. Sig around to lung wards at hospitals, giving out free cigarettes to emphysema patients. Now, when I saw this, if you had put a gun to my head, I would have said that's absolutely AI. But no, this is at 100. This happened. Not only did this happen, this image is what it looked like. Even though, when you look at the contrast and like the lack of detail here and there, you might be thinking, "Oh yeah, this is AI," but it's not. Now, we agree on the intent of these reports, but when the accuracy has dropped to 20%, we would argue that efficiency in identifying and removing residual third-party content that might have AI in it would be greatly improved if people submitted reports based on if they just submitted the image that they suspect is AI to these three AI image detection sites. This is the ones we use, and if somebody submits an image to us saying this is AI, we submit it to all three of these services, and if they score over 10% AI on average through all, we replace that image. So we are being very, very diligent about fixing this. Now, we would respectfully ask that, number one, if you suspect an image, please spare us the work and run it through these sites, and we would be very glad to accept your report, and we will act on it. Absolutely. I should put a little bit of an appendix or an addendum onto the end of this. Because AI is not, it initially was in images. Now, it is unfortunately, branched out into music, into voiceover, into writing, and etc. Now, when it comes to music, we have had only one report of a piece of music being AI. Yeah, when we subjected it to an AI detector, it came out as 48% possibility AI and 51% possible human. So we replaced it. We've got one report of a AI voiceover in the game, but here is the problem. We submitted it and it tested fine. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. If it tests fine, if it tests again repeatedly through trusted services, we're going to take those services word and we're going to replace those. Now, one exception to this, I will have to say, and I'm going to just put that out there, because anybody who's followed the game over the last several months has understood our drama that happened when we discovered that one of the textbooks that you could find inside of the Peace Island school tested 100% positive for AI. And here's what was really wacky about that. We were using a textbook from Estonia or Latvia. It's been over a year now, so I forget which, but it was written in Estonian or Latvian, and it was translated via Google Translate. And then, and it was the original text was taken from archive.org, and it dated from, I think, 2018. And I thought that was early enough, but for some reason, that textbook tested 100% positive for AI. Now, Laura and I went through the whole hassle of literally rewriting the entire physics textbook from scratch. And because there was a little bit of text in the main history textbook that tested positive for AI, oh man, I rewrote the entire main history textbook. And outside of the alternate history stuff in that textbook, that was, pardon me, not the most exciting bit of work I've done in the course of making this game. Not saying that main history is not exciting. And here's the problem. After Laura and I meticulously rewrote those books from scratch, not copy pasting from anywhere, we put our original text in there, and I think first one came in as 20% AI, and the next one came in as 31% AI. And this is stuff that we had painstakingly written from scratch. So, I don't know. I don't know what to do when literally we are rewriting entire textbooks from scratch, and it tells us that there's AI in there. I just really don't know what to do. So if anybody would really like to, I mean, if you see anything in there that you suspect is AI, as far as like story or books and like in the magazine articles or the books, please get in touch. Thanks so much for tuning into another one of these videos, and I really appreciate everybody supporting Peace Island.